And welcome to episode 102 of We the GamerCast. It's the official podcast of WeTheNerdy.com, and it comes to you every Monday on iTunes, Google Play, and mother-loving YouTube. I started a little high there, guys. It was too high for my voice. It's too much. Thank you for listening, subscribing, watching, giving a thumbs up on the YouTube video, and retweeting, and all the things you do. And thank you for supporting on patreon.com/makeusbetter. We're 3 months in. Some of you have been with us the whole way, and my heartfelt thank you. We're into September now. It's wonderful, and it's time to thank our executive producers. Nick Militia, Joel Brooks, James Johnson, Dr. Doom, Jesse Armstrong, Sheldon Benedict, Nintenshell, Glauco Schaefer, and our new executive producer. Welcome to the club, David Ray. You are the man. It has been great to get to play some video games with you lately. We played some Splatoon, we're chatting and everything. It's a nice little friendship that has been born out of this show. We've talked about this a lot, but if you're new, here's the deal. Every week I have sweet hangs with strangers from the internet. A stranger like David Ray at one point. Strangers become friends. And if you want to be on the show, it's easy, simple. Tweet at me, at Sean Capri. It's Sean like Connery Capri, like the pants. Last week was Grouchie Serge. And many of you have never heard from Grouchie Serge, but he was on the show. And he's a real person. Guys, this is somebody that we've all been tweeting at for a very long time, and a very real chat last week, and I really appreciated that from Mr. Grouchie. I just put it together in my mind that his avatar could be Oscar the Grouch. Maybe that could be, I don't know why, that could be fun. I'm not going to do too much of this week. I haven't been playing really anything new. StarCraft, Mario Rabbids I did talk about, or I have played, but I talked about a ton on a podcast that you guys should go check out. It's with Alex Van Aken at It's Van Aken. The podcast is called Pixel Pulse Radio. It has become one of my favorites I started checking it out after Alex was on the E3 predictions. No, he wasn't on the predictions. He was on the results show. And he told me that he does a weekly podcast with his stepdad. And I was fascinated. I think that is great. And I love their chemistry together. They say I love you on the show. I mean, I don't even end every call with my dad with I love you. So maybe I should. I love this. I love that show. So I got to play a couple hours of Mario Rabbids, and I talked in great depth about my initial thoughts, and a lot of that hasn't changed. I'm really enjoying the game, but I said I was going to get into that. If you want to find out what I think about Mario plus Rabbids, other than it's great, Alex and Brandon and I have an amazing chat. You guys should go check out if you're not already a subscriber over there. Also, I've been guesting a little bit on podcasts, as it seems. Joseph Moran made the mistake of having Bobby and I on the PlayStation podcast, and he somehow thought that we were actually going to talk about PlayStation the whole time. So if you guys want to hear Bobby and I totally sabotage this show, and I actually have to, I owe Joseph another guest appearance because Chelsea was leaving at the time that we were recording. So I had to run up, go say goodbye, and help pack the car and things like that. The timing wasn't exactly perfect. That was all my fault. But I think it makes for an interesting and entertaining podcast. You guys should already, if you haven't already, go subscribe. You can follow Joseph at Mr. Badbit. The show is PlayStation Pod. And good on you for locking that down, by the way, Joseph. That is SEO. Very good search engine optimization. Good job, man. And again, thank you to David Ray for becoming our new patron this week. The only thing that I'm going to really maybe briefly mention is that this time next week, I will have run 10 kilometers raising money for suicide prevention. People have been listening to the show for a while. Remember that I did this last year as well. This will be the third time that I do it. First time I did just a 5K walk, and then I've upped it. I feel like I should probably challenge myself for this. So I am raising money. You can see on my Twitter for a link if you guys care to donate to that. Very, very meaningful. A very close friend of mine I've known since high school. Unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago. And this is, obviously it's important to raise money for it. It's important to talk about it. But for me on a personal level, it's very important for me to just be there for his mom. I'm now being warned that Lincoln's sleeping, and I don't need to yell at the top of my lungs. So I apologize for that. So I'm done yelling. I'm done screaming. But anyways, yes, I will be doing the 10-kilometer run, and I'm not in shape for this, so it will be a challenge, and I think that it's super important to be there for his mom. So check out the Twitter for that. Hopefully that goes okay. Lastly, guys, before we get into my amazing chat here with Mark Carabin, a new podcast. Very exciting. The Xbox Drive is a thing. You can find it on iTunes and dayspace.com, and the xboxdrive.com. You can find it all there. Subscribe, please. I've got some really nice feedback already, so thank you guys for that, having an early listen. If you didn't know, the Xbox Drive is a show that I've been wanting to do for a little while. I wanted to just talk about Xbox more. And the only time that I had to do it is literally on my drive to work. So I hook up a Skype call with Mr. Dave Moore, Dayspace, at Dayspace. You can follow him. And we talk about Xbox. I think we may work in a little bit more of the road rage. We may find other things for me to do on my way to work. So stay tuned for that. It's super interesting. It's probably the most unpredictable podcast about Xbox. We're going to come up with some in very Microsoft fashion. It'll be the number one podcast that's recorded while driving in Canada on the way to Sean's work with a McDonald's drive-through stop in the middle of it. Definitely the number one. I don't think that we even have competition in that area. So take that, podcast world. Guys, let's get right into it. Let's talk to Mr. Mark Carabin. He is my Canardian. My Canardian friend, you know him from the Warp Whistle podcast. This has been a very, very long time coming. We had a couple dates lined up. Things got shuffled around, and now it's great because he gets to be on the video version. So let's do it. Let's get right into it. I'm so happy with this conversation. I hope you guys like it too. He's a proud patron. Not that that's required, everybody. But here he is, Mr. Mark Carabin. I wanted to talk to you about the Warp Whistle, man. Like I've been on a show and I've seen you expand the scope a little bit. I want to talk about the greatest games of all time. But as I do, I wanted to go way, way back because you've been doing the show a while. You've been in the triple digits of podcasting way before me, man. And when I first started doing this, all I heard about from my new friend, the Geek Guru, was Mark Carabin this and the Ink Strike podcast that. And I wanted to know how you got into it because the way the story goes, you taught Bobby all the tricks of the trade. Like we have you to thank for the Nintendo Guru, the 900 subs, and everything else that comes along with the Bobby.
All right. Well, I can't take credit for the 900 subs, but congratulations, Bobby. I think this is the first time I've actually been able to address that. I saw it on Twitter this morning. I was busy all last night, but I guess he crossed that last night or recently this weekend. So I can't take any credit for that. See, when I met Bobby, we had started, Colin and I, my brother and co-host, we had started the Warp Whistle, and Bobby was doing his Geek Guru thing on YouTube. So when I met him, it was like, I watched his videos and we were both posting and chatting in the NVC group. And I'd always see him posting stuff and commenting on stuff, not just like posting his own things. You know what I mean? Like we were both commenting on the same stuff. And
so that's how you guys crossed paths originally, was just like basically in the forums of Facebook.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh my goodness gracious,
NVC
this
group.
world.
So we're both Nintendo fans.
Yeah.
And I noticed that, you know, he's doing some great stuff. He loves Batman. I love Batman.
Who doesn't love Batman?
He loves Nintendo stuff. And obviously, you know, I'm a giant Nintendo nerd. And so he just seemed to have one of those personalities that you're drawn to and you want to do. And I also kind of realized early on that we might be able to help each other out. You know, we did the podcast and it was audio only and still is audio only because my brother's super stubborn. I'd love to get into more video stuff. So
dude, this took me like a half an hour to like iron out the kinks. My webcam literally just like gave me the finger. Not literally. That's not the right use of literally. That's a pet peeve of mine. Sorry. Go ahead.
Figuratively gave you the finger. It was, But so, and well, with Colin and I, we usually record in the same place. So it's actually setting up cameras and lighting and all that kind of stuff. And So if we're going to do video, we want to get it right. But, so early on, I noticed, like Bobby's doing his video, we're doing the audio. Maybe we can combine our forces a little bit. Maybe we can help each other out, and maybe we can, come together and just kind of, make some content together or whatever, or separately, and then, try to come together. So it was kind of like talking about that kind of stuff. And then Bobby started mentioning the podcast stuff, and it was just like, okay, cool. Like here's some tips. So like that was kind of really it. I wouldn't say like,
but what was your first reaction to like this stranger? Because I think that we're all friends. We all talk to each other on a regular basis. Was this one of the first times that you started really talking to somebody on the internet? Because like for me, like, I don't know about you growing up, we were not supposed to be doing this. This is like so far from what our parents told us to do.
Oh, society now is so screwed up because, like, don't get in cars with strangers. Don't talk to strangers on the internet. Now some of my best friends are strangers on the internet, and like you call Uber to get you everywhere. It's like the stupidest. Like,
we got over that real quick. If an Uber driver
comes up with candy, like that's the trifecta. Like that's it. Like that's just the perfect. Like a van. Yep. And candy and an Uber driver. It's just like grandmothers are just flipping in their graves. Like it's just I don't know. My grandmothers are both alive. I don't know why I even said that.
Well, some grandmas are flipping in their grave.
Well, that's it, and the other ones are just worried. It's just man, off the rails already.
So was Bobby the first? Like, because there's something about him that he's just like, let's be friends, and you're like, this is gonna be okay, even though he's like this gangster from New Jersey.
He's definitely one of the first. And well, in that time, I was kind of looking for that too, just because we had started the podcast and I said, like, I'm going to need to really branch out and meet some people to be guests or to,
I had the same idea.
And do this kind of thing. And it was, so that's something that I took upon myself.
Yeah.
Because Colin's a little bit more subdued than I am, I guess. So that was kind of a conscious effort. And around the same time, I was getting into Destiny 1.
Ooh, was it that long ago Destiny came out? Like, does that feel like that was just yesterday?
2-3 years, something like that. It really seems
right after the launch of it was a year into the PS4, right? So 2014, I guess.
That's when I bought mine. I got the Destiny Special Edition.
Crap, what is happening? Oh, did you really? So, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I did too.
The white console. Nice.
Me too. It spits out discs like the pizza shooter, the Ninja Turtles, the van. It's just like pew pew pew.
I had that van. That's
Yep. Aim away from face.
Yep. Mine hasn't been ejecting discs. Mine actually eats discs a little.
Oh, and it just keeps it. Nom, 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 nom,
it just keeps it. I press the button and like it used to, like you didn't have to turn it on to eject the disc or whatever. Like you could eject the disc and it would like turn on all at once.
Yeah,
now I have to turn it on, wait for it to be exactly. Wait for it to boot up and then like, eject the disc, hope it cooperates and doesn't, frisbee death someone.
Takes out your ankles.
And that's it. My dog. I'm just worried. I'm always like, Stella, over here.
Oh, no. My dog always, I had that 360, the Xbox 360, the one with that super sensitive touch. And my dog would always go up and sniff it. And of course, just like, then it would pop out the disc and it'd scare. But because it was an event, I think that's what kept her coming back to it. Right. Anyway, yes, we could go. Mark, we could just like, if we just don't even want to do questions or whatever, we just talk random crap.
Let's
we could
just
totally
go,
do that.
come on, see how far down the rabbit hole we can get with these random tangents. So I get Destiny and I'm playing and I'm noticing it's a little bit boring playing by myself.
I noticed the same thing.
So around the same time that we were like starting the podcast and getting everything ready to go, I had been dabbling in online boards and groups and Facebook groups and all this kind of stuff and came across someone randomly, I think in the Podcast Beyond Facebook group.
Yeah.
Who was from like Nova Scotia as well.
Oh.
So from like lived 4 or 5 hours away from me.
Yeah. Do you consider that close?
I consider that. Well, I mean, if it's in Nova Scotia, it's pretty close considering Podcast Beyond scope.
Of course.
I mean, you're talking people here, thousands of members all over the world. And I randomly happen to find someone whose house I can drive to who's starting a Destiny clan.
Okay.
Like, that's kind of crazy.
Totally.
So it's all these people from like the southern shore of Nova Scotia and kind of expanding through Nova Scotia, but it started kind of in the South Shore with this group of friends. So, so I said, okay, that's not too bad. I could, like, if these guys turn out nasty, I can drive where they live and like hit them with a baseball bat or something. So, so that was like my first like toe in the water of this like meeting strangers online. Like, okay, people I can drive to. Okay, cool.
Right.
Let's start there.
Yeah.
So like once I get in with this group, and then there's like people joining because you're like, kind of making a name. We're great on the raids. We're great, doing all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We have weeklies and dailies and all the whatever. So like other people from all around the world start joining up, and we get like a pretty decent clan going. And so then I'm like talking to people from all over the world, and then a couple months later or around the same time, I'm jumping in the NBC group, and there's this super loud crazy guy talking about Batman and video games and on YouTube, and I'm like, I like this guy.
Yeah.
Let's see where it goes. So that was my first impression of Bobby. Was just like, I like this guy. Like he's doing something good.
Mm-hmm.
He's friendly. He's like high energy. I like his vibe. And I can't remember. I think I messaged him first, but he may have messaged me. I really can't remember at this point, because that's like two and a half
somewhere
years
in the Facebook messages that the archives is there.
Oh yeah.
And if you're ever feeling nostalgic, you'll be like, where did this start? And just scroll for years and years. Which even if I need to find something that Bobby sent me like last week, I've got to scroll for a while, man. Like we are not short-winded people either on Skype or on messages. Like we text all the time. So
not at all.
Okay, so you guys, you help him out with a little bit of text. So how were you the expert? How did you become the one who knew how to start up a podcast? And like, where did that begin for you?
Oh man, that goes way back.
Oh, nice.
Way back. So aside from being a Nintendo fanboy a bit, I'm also an Apple fanboy. Mm-hmm. So I love that mug. That was awesome. That was a Superstar.
It's got a little chip on it. This is why, folks, you don't put stuff in the dishwasher. I hate the dishwasher. This is an amazing mug at 20 ounces.
I'm so disappointed right now because I just have like my regular like boring kind of mug. My Tetris mug is I could have gone with that. I could have gone with Bobby's favorite, my boot, which I usually reserve for rum, but it's 11 in the morning right now, so that's not going to
next time we record, we should just. I mean, if things are going off the rails right now, then like two Canadians getting wasted on a podcast.
Yeah, I've been wanting to use that name. I think who did I mention that? Maybe Bobby's show the last time I was on there or something.
I'm trying to think of the. It
was the Ink Strike Live, I think. It was the Super Smash Brothers.
Yes, exactly. Yep, I like it. Bob is it Doug and Bob? What the hell are their names? Mackenzie, the Mackenzie brothers. Yeah, hoser. Okay, so you're an Apple fanboy. Have you always been? Because like I definitely giggled every time I saw like a colored iMac, and I actually was very resistant to the iPod movement back when that like first came out. I'm like, no man, I got my Discman and I've got my 30 seconds of anti-shock. I don't want this like trend. I hate trends. I don't really hop on things too early like that, especially when they're super convenient and obviously the future. I definitely want to steer clear of that.
No, I'm about as old school as you can get for being born when I was. I think if I was born any earlier, I would have been like an Apple II guy. My first computer ever was a Power Mac 6100.
What in the world? I don't even know what that is. I've never heard of that.
That's the old school before they went colors and all this kind of stuff.
Was it green and black screen?
It was just gray. No, it was a color screen. But
green is a color, of course.
Yeah,
Duh.
No. It was like, full color screen, regular looking screen. It was introduced. That computer was 1994, discontinued in 96-ish. I got it somewhere probably around there, I guess. Probably around 96, because I think the school, we actually bought it secondhand because my mom worked at a school. They were upgrading the computers, and so she got one there, and it was still expensive. Like this is back in they were like super expensive, right?
Totally.
I think the initial base price on that was like $1,700 or something like it's just insane, right? So that was my first foray into computers, and we used that thing like crazy for everything.
Are you doing number munchers? Do you remember number munchers?
Number Munchers, Full Throttle, TIE Fighter.
Oh,
X-Wing.
games, actual games, amazing. Okay,
actual games. Between that and then we got an iMac a little bit afterwards. Like not the original iMac, it was the 2001 maybe,
right.
the gray special edition one.
Oh, that's hilarious!
So
that was a special edition one,
right? Yep. So that one was great. That one was really cool, and I think that one was more like maybe that's where we played Full Throttle. I can't remember between the two computers. That era kind of just blends together.
Talk to me about gaming on a Mac though, because like at the same time, so you're in Nova Scotia gaming on a Mac. I'm in Alberta gaming on a PC mostly. Like I was not allowed to have the consoles, as I've talked about before. We're on PC. I always looked at and always read about Macs having like difficulty or like the games never came there. Like what was that like to it? Like, is it like a console war kind of happening? Were you even aware of what's happening over on PC or elsewhere? Or did you care because you would have had
with PCs? Yeah. I didn't care. We had, you know, Super Nintendo, N64. Right. We had our Game Gears. The portable was the one thing that I didn't really go on with Nintendo, because I always liked technology, and you know,
clearly Game Gear was better.
It seemed, you know, color screen, right?
Exactly.
Like I was sold. It was a color screen and could play games that looked like my Super Nintendo or whatever it was,
totally.
Right? Like,
yeah.
And that's why Game Boy Advance grabbed me when that came out. And I still waited on that for the SP because of the backlit screen.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the time when I was playing, it was nighttime. We did get Game Boys for Pokemon, but it always annoyed me that I had. Like you have this tiny little Game Boy that can fit in your pocket, and the Game Gear was such a big, stupid brick. Mm-hmm. But the Game Boy, like you had to take a magnifying screen and the lights and all this kind of like shenanigans, and it was such an annoyance that like the Game Gear, even though it ate batteries, like it was just going out of style. Like it was just
AAA or AA batteries or something, or 8 maybe even.
Something like that. God, yeah, 6 or 8.
Batteries are heavy alone. Batteries alone are heavy.
Yep. That thing is just an obnoxious brick, but like it was cool back in the day. Like you could play Sonic or G-Lock. Like that was my jam. You know, airplane shooters. So the Mac thing didn't really bother me. Yeah. I got, you know, I had a Star Wars game. Mm-hmm. I could fly in an X-wing. I could fly in a TIE fighter. I could play. Man, what were those games called? Like it was more. Did you
have like Rebel Assault games and things like that?
Rebel Assault, that's it.
I don't know how I knew that's what you're talking about, but those were great.
Yeah, so like I had Star Wars. I loved Star Wars growing up, and still do. So that was, you know, that like for me that was cool. And then we still had like you know, I'd go over to my friends and play like Civilization. We had the Sims or SimCity or whatever. Like it was still, you know, so SimCity, you spend hours building up your thing and then unleash a Godzilla monster on it. That was what I did. That was.
Did anybody ever win? Did anybody ever feel good? I never really understood. Like my goal was just to wreak havoc. And I like
that's literally, I don't know. That says something about our
maybe
psyches. I think that like our goal of winning this game was to create a successful city and then destroy it with tornadoes and a Godzilla monster.
Exactly. Well, there's definitely with episode 100, it was all about the guest, but somebody somewhere could put together all of the moments where I expose all the fractures in my ego, my brain, my personality. There's a lot of stuff that can be done there. Okay, so on the Mac, I wanted to, because this is all leading
on the episode 100, by the way. That was a fantastic episode.
It was a labor of love. Thank you, and obviously, Josh, Antonio, and Adam couldn't have done it without those guys. And now here I am on video, breaking everything all the time. Yeah. So this is awesome. Having a Mac at home, I feel like just automatically makes you a creative genius. It just no matter what, if you have a Mac in your home, if you have a PC. You're just going to be doing your spreadsheets. You're going to type at 35 words per minute. But on a Mac, you're photoshopping, you're creating music, like you're creating. So is that part of the upbringing as well as playing games and stuff like that?
Yeah. With the iMac especially. Yeah. And then later on I got like my own MacBook or iBook, I think, back when I got the first one. So it was like going into university, I think. Yeah. So, we especially like when we got the iMac and it came with that I suite or whatever the hell it was called.
Yep.
You know, so it had like iMovie and GarageBand and all this kind of stuff just built right into it. And it was just like, whoa,
yeah, man.
Like I can do all this stuff. So, you know, I had just a little digital camera, but it could do little videos. And I think it was like crappy quality potato cam kind of stuff. But totally. I was using that to get these videos. And it was so easy to take it and put it on the computer and edit it and put a song around it and do, you know, little transitions and titles and stuff, that it was so much fun working with that. Graphic design, not too much until later on. I got into that eventually in like university-ish kind of stuff. But the music was a big thing. I played guitar and stuff when I was growing up, and even just messing around with like loops and MIDI stuff in GarageBand,
MIDI,
just creating our own stuff. And that's how I did right up to recently. That's how I did the Warp Whistle theme song, was GarageBand.
No way.
Created that straight up from scratch, aside from the whistle sound.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I grabbed the whistle sound, just like a Warp Whistle MP3, and put that, and then built a song up around it.
Okay, hang on a second. I need to be like 100% crystal clear on this, because I haven't been listening since the beginning. Yep. What exactly are you saying? Are you saying the song that we hear now is based on, or is your creation?
Yes. Yeah.
I am you need to send me that song, by the way, because I want to have that intro this segment.
Sure.
But I am completely blown away, because that song is so incredible. It gets me so pumped
That's awesome. That's what I was going for. I was going for something to get people pumped. And like it's so that one was a mix of like changing some loops that are like in GarageBand. I don't know if you've messed around with GarageBand much, but it's like all these loops and stuff that are just like free to use basically, and you can make them and change them and layer them up. So that's a bunch of different layers and all these different loops and changing around a couple of little things. But yeah, that was like, it's not some kind of impressive thing where I was sitting at a keyboard and had all these instruments and stuff. It's nothing super impressive, but that's my I made the song. Now you mentioned the greatest games ever before. That one wasn't me. That one was a friend of mine. He's a musician, Brett Way. He's a great musician. His family's is awesome. So he did that one, and he had talked to me, man, long ago, and just said, you know, if you need any music, whatever, do this. And I always kind of kept that in my back pocket and was like, you know, we have our theme song. I'm happy with that, but like we'll do some other projects. And as soon as I came up with that idea, it was like, let's see what Brett can come up with. Man. Like, let's see what you can come up with, like some chiptune kind of stuff. So that one's his. But the original one's that's me. Okay,
so now I feel not only am I just totally blown away by the fact that you made the song, but you've actually just taught me like way more about GarageBand than I knew at all. Like I just thought GarageBand was like a recording piece of software that you can have multiple tracks. That was it. That was my understanding of it. I didn't actually realize it was like this music building studio. Like my brother used to use like Sibelius or something like that, and like they did a couple like different MIDI studios, which would just basically be used for writing music that you would then have like bands play. Like it would you could write out like music. But it was still MIDI, and all I ever wanted to do was either use that or Mario Maker to recreate like GoldenEye soundtracks, because as soon as I realized that Nintendo was based on like MIDI songs, I'm like, dude, that means that I can make it. And that's always the piece that's missing for me in my brain of, and I talked to Antonio about this, that I respect so much about you, is that you can create out of nothing. Like if I know how to use Photoshop and I know how to use Illustrator, but I can't create. I will always look to like grab assets from somewhere else, and I can make it look decent enough, but I can't ever I would never be able to draw what I want to, or music as well. I could never like come up with something on its own. I would smash together a whole bunch of other stuff, which really goes to back me and neighbor Matt used to hook up our VCRs to our PCs back then, because our sound cards would come with Sound Blaster would come with like Wave Studio, and we would record sound bites from like Ace Ventura and Wayne's World and stuff, so that when the computer started up, it would say like, alrighty then, and all these terribly annoying things.
That's awesome.
Okay, enough about me. I want to keep going into, so Are you learning how to do all this creative stuff on your Mac alone, or where does Colin come into all of this? Is it mainly from the passion perspective that he grew up playing these games with you, or is he on the podcast side as well, like the creativity? Let's generate some content.
Little bit of everything, really.
Yeah.
He did the GarageBand stuff the same as I did, like separately and together sometimes, but really like we'd split up. So if we were, he was on the computer for an hour, he'd be messing around. I might watch what he's doing. I might be off playing Nintendo something or whatever.
And you're older, right?
Yes, I'm 2 years older than Colin is.
Right. I feel like, okay, so I don't know if it's just me, but I didn't know that until just very recently, and I always assumed Colin was older. Do you guys get that a lot?
Everyone does, yeah.
Like because I don't think I've ever seen him. He has an anonymous sort of internet persona, which is, I respect that. Like, basically, if you guys ever do video, I can't wait for him to just throw a bag over his head like Ugly Bob from South Park. And he's just a regular looking guy, but
just go to KFC. He's just buckethead. Just fantastic.
Why do people think he's older? Like, what is it like?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know. Like, I've had some friends of mine say he kind of looks older just because he has like kind of a bigger beard kind of thing, wears a hat a lot. So, hat and a beard kind of makes it, he, I guess, looks older or something. Man, for someone who's never seen him or never doesn't really know him at all.
Podcast. And you know what it is? Okay, so this is about as smooth as I was ever going to get into this topic. But you are the positive one on the show.
Yes.
It's an interesting year for Colin. Let's put it that way, because he's very hard on Nintendo, which and I've been well known to be very hard on Nintendo as well.
Well, I mean, both of us. Like,
but I've also got a hard on for Nintendo.
Yeah, exactly.
So it just goes both ways.
Or hard either way.
Exactly. Yep. Sorry, what were you going to say? I totally cut you off.
Well, no, when I had you on the warp whistle, that was the whole thing. It was like therapy session for both of us about reordering the Switch, right? Like that was as close as I think I've ever come to really like needing that like one-on-one therapy with someone.
That was like, such a great episode, dude. Yeah, and I agree too. And I remember saying after that show, and I think I even tweeted it too, which is weird that I remember a tweet from months ago, but like I was just so grateful for such a rational and intelligent conversation about consoles and console wars and like the decision making. Like it was people definitely need to, maybe I should make a note for the show notes, but anyway, Colin is really what we're here to talk about. How where does it has Colin been hurt? Because that's what I ultimately realized, that a lot of us, and me especially, my feelings have been hurt by Nintendo. So when I lash out, it's it's a defense mechanism. I don't want to be hurt again. I'm hating myself for going back into this abusive relationship, but I keep going because I think Nintendo still loves me. Yeah.
See, and that's the weird thing is Colin, I don't want to say ditched Nintendo.
Yep.
Long ago, but the N64 quickly, especially towards the end of the life. Now we always shared consoles growing up, aside from our handhelds. So Nintendo, Super Nintendo, N64, they were all shared consoles. But towards the end of the life, he got a PS2.
Right.
And the N64 quickly became my go-to because I was still Nintendo, and the PS2 was all his. That was the first I think that was the first console ever to come into our house that one of us wanted, and the other one, like I was just like, I'm still good. I'm still good with Zelda. I still like this. I'm waiting for Majora's Mask. And I think it was Christmas, the same Christmas I got Majora's Mask, he gets a PS2. And that caused the divide.
Was it Nintendo Power that had you anticipating? Like, how would you have known? Or IGN would have been just starting up too. I don't know if you would have been crawling through that. Those pages.
Oh yeah. We were fans of N64.com.
Yeah, man. You actually remember typing in N64.com?
N64.com, and then it turned into IGN64.com,
right? And
then it turned into the IGN network. So we were fans right from the get-go.
Gosh, that's hilarious.
Yeah. And so yeah, we had like the neighborhood kids, and like we'd always like gather at whoever's house the computer was free and go on IGN and wait for like the 6 years for the 56K modem to load up the pages and stuff and read the reviews. And, and then
walkthroughs and strategy guides.
Stores and Blockbuster to see when Buck Bumble 64 was coming in. It was just
gosh, I love it. I used to go to IGN and GameSpot to download demos for computer games, especially at the time, all the strategy games in the world, real-time strategy games, and you would set it overnight. Like you would just kind of like try and then duct tape the phone because you didn't want anybody interrupting that giant download that you had. And it wasn't even like back then we didn't even have data caps. This is how freaking old I am. I just saw a billboard that said like Budweiser's been brewed in Alberta since 1980. I'm like, that's not that long. That's not oh damn, that's kind of like that's 30 some odd years ago. Like that you can go ahead and brag about that. Crap, what the hell was I even talking about? Let's go back to Colin. So he's got a PS2. Are you not looking over and going, that looks kind of sexy? Are you still like just you have your lover? Nintendo is a little lover.
Yeah, a little bit. I am looking at some of the games and being like, that looks cool. But Nintendo, I think at this time, I don't know if the GameCube was announced or rumored or whatever, but it was like, I'm gonna wait for this thing.
So you would have held on to your 64 for a while then. Like if he was getting PS2, because PS2 and GameCube and Xbox were kind of like that gen. So you're holding on to your 64 well past PS1, right? Into the PS2 era. Because so then there's like a real big jump there in terms of what he's playing.
Yeah, and it was a year or so before the GameCube came out. So I think I got GameCube maybe the following Christmas. So it was a full year of watching him playing. And I mean, I definitely played like Grand Theft Auto or whatever else was on there. And
way too young, right? To be playing those games. Like, can we just be honest with ourselves when we start slapping our kids around for playing games that are too mature? It's like I was stabbing German Shepherds in the face with a knife when I was like 7 years old with Wolfenstein.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah. Wolfenstein. There are a couple of other Mac games, Wolfenstein and Doom. Like,
you got them?
Way too young. Oh yeah, I was like 10 years old.
I know, chainsaws to the face.
My mom doesn't know what's going on, so I'm like, yeah, don't worry about it. I'm fighting Mecha Hitler with a chainsaw. Like, what? That's not a sentence a 10-year-old should say.
We learn later, like, what the Nazis even are. Like, they're just bad people. We just know that we need to murder them.
Yeah, that's it. I didn't notice it. Yeah, it was just, one of those, you're too stupid to be actually doing something bad. You're so innocent, it, like, works in the other way. You're just like, oh, it's a giant robot with some weird dude's face on it. Totally. It's like, no, that's like, okay, the worst person ever.
Somehow our parents knew that we were just giant harmless nerds. Like we just like we wouldn't hurt a fly. Like come on, like it's so okay.
Canadians.
That's my favorite thing. Colin is wooed by Sony. Yes. When does he ever really come back, or is he always kind of like now he's become maybe multi-platform a little bit?
That's it. Yeah, he's very much multi-platform. He never, I don't think, fully like handhelds, all Nintendo all the time. He was the first person, I think, day one to get a 3DS.
Oh wow!
I even waited on the 3DS. I didn't grab one until a little bit later. The blue 3DS came out, like the original fat 3DS. Yep. That one came out when Ocarina of Time came out.
Yep.
Which wasn't a launch thing. A lot of people associate that with the 3DS launch, and it just wasn't. It was months later. The 3DS came out with like steel.
Was Star Fox 3D before that? Maybe somebody can fact check us on that. I'm
not sure.
Just make shit up as we go.
Yeah, why not? But he got like Street Fighter and Steel Diver, maybe. Something like that. Anyway, a couple of those like bad Nintendo launch games.
This is all feeding into him being hurt by Nintendo, by the way. Buying a 3DS day one.
I think so. So that was like step one of this. Like I paid too much. The ambassador program was cool, but still like could have waited 6 months and got something for cheaper, and better games would have been out and all this whatever. I know he got a Wii eventually, but I'm not sure if that was. I can't remember if that was his or his girlfriend's. I think it was his.
Yeah.
But like. He at that point he was PS3 and Xbox 360, and the Wii was like, I want to mess around with Mario and Twilight Princess.
Right. Okay, so that was well after, because they were really quick out of the gate.
He skipped GameCube completely. Like he'd come over and he like I had one, and he'd come into my room, which was funny because it was like if we had people over, my room was the place to be because that was where Smash Brothers was.
Right,
that was where Time Splitters 2 was. That was, even with the 360, PS3, PS2, whatever else in other places, like the GameCube was still the fun console where everyone would play. And we're like Time Splitters 2, we made up like Super Flaming Monkey Tag. Like we made up our own little multiplayer games inside it. Like that game was so awesome. I wish they'd come back.
Dude, that's amazing.
But so like, so I stuck with Nintendo. I ended up getting an Xbox 360 just because I'd see what he was doing with that. And the Wii was so underpowered that like it was fun to mess around with. But even I was just like I'm watching what he's doing in Gears of War and Halo, and I kind of need some of that. So I got one secondhand, and never fully pulled me away from Nintendo, but definitely broadened my horizons. So I have massive respect for someone like Jacob Rush, who like from Nintendo Nostalgia, who like just is like, Nintendo, this is it, good or bad.
I know. I've told him the same thing,
like,
man.
I don't even know. And recently Colin's gotten into gaming PCs, built his like, crazy massive gaming PC. And that's where most of his time is. But the Switch has brought him back, and I'm really happy.
How is it? Okay, so I'm so glad we got to explore that whole lead up, because my big question is, what is it like to podcast with, like, is it a challenge, or is it, maybe it is a challenge that you struggle with, or is it a challenge that you enjoy, that you do have somebody sitting right across from you that is so hard on Nintendo, and you are so positive for, like, I don't even know how, like, if there's a concerted approach to it where you go, well, if he's going to be the bad cop, I'm going to be the good cop, or if it's just natural. And like, do you get tired? Because like sometimes he's got a good point. As other times it's like, it's kind of just hating on him. So you handle that, I think, really, really well. And I think people enjoy that. And I think Colin knows that people enjoy that. So how do you approach that? Like, you just want to love Nintendo. We started the Warp Whistle podcast.
Yeah.
Can we not just
and that's his name, by the way.
Oh, that
was his name.
It's a great name.
We came up with probably about a dozen names. That was on his list. Yep. And I liked it so much that I threw my list away. And that was it.
That's like really
that's the name. So thanks to Colin for the name, and couple of fingers up in the air because of everything else he's done. No, that's how we always are.
Yeah.
Even from when we were kids, if I liked Adidas, he liked Nike.
Of course.
If I wanted to play guitar, he played the bass. Man. It was like that was. I'm surprised he wasn't a Sega kid earlier on. But like, I like Batman, he liked Spider-Man. Like, it was always, just never. But best friends, but always butted heads.
Totally. At least you're in the same worlds, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's really weird. So it's I don't know, like what you get on the podcast is us, and that's why we decided to do the podcast. Yeah. Was like way back when we started this chat, you asked me how I got in, and I said I was an Apple fanboy, and that kind of snowballed into this. I started listening to podcasts when they first came out, like really early on, and always thought that would be fun. I always liked, even from back in the tape recorder days, you'd tape songs and then do your own radio intros, like a super nerd in my.
I know exactly what you mean, though.
But Wolfenstein influences. It was always KTIT radio.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So. For any Wolfenstein 64 fans.
Wow.
Can't believe I said that one out loud.
Crazy.
Yep. So we started a podcast called the Joystick Monkey Podcast, which was part of the Joystick Monkey blog, which was my video game / travel blog, because / comics. I'd draw like little web comics.
Yes.
So that was basically anything I was into at the time, and I still have a lot of those web comics. I should send you some because they're embarrassing.
That's the best. Yeah, definitely. We'll put them up on the page.
Perfect. Why did I just say that?
Do. Well, you got some time too, because we're recording this ahead of time. We're gonna have it in the can. You got time to deliver on this. Let me tell you, that's hilarious.
So So yeah, we start a podcast. We do a few episodes of that, and then the people that the scope was too big. It was just everything.
Right,
it was like,
you don't want to miss anything though. You don't want to like alienate people by focusing.
Exactly, and it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't. It was like video games and technology and sports and this and that, and and there's some podcasts that could pull that off, and I couldn't.
Yeah.
So like that died. We sat on it for a little bit. Colin started the BFGC, which is now turned into the Salty Talk podcast, and they cover a little bit of everything actually. So they're pulling that off. But they're like a good group of friends that you can count on to get together regularly.
That's rare, man. That's the hardest part. That's why this show is like this, is because we had a hard time with the Nerdy trying to get everybody together at the same time. Okay. I want to be respectful of time. I also have Bobby and Joseph immediately after this. So I need to, unfortunately, get to my last two questions that I've got for you.
Sure.
But I'm linking it into the greatest games of all time, which I think is the greatest thing. I already love the Warp Whistle, and when I heard this, I cannot wait to be a guest. I have my greatest game changes every other day. So I'm curious to ask you, in your opinion, like what is the greatest game and what is your favorite game? Are the two different?
Ooh. Mercy, putting me right on the spot there. Okay,
I know. Well,
like
if you come up with the show, I figured maybe you'd even answer the question and I missed it.
No, you know what? Mine's very similar to yours because mine changes depending and I've never thought about it in that way where it's, what's the greatest game and what's my favorite game. So that's interesting.
It almost seems like, because my favorite movie is Armageddon, and Armageddon is a shit movie. Like there's nothing really that great. I think the soundtrack's pretty good, and I love Ben Affleck and Bruce Willis. So
Michael Bay can shoot the hell out of a movie. Not many people appreciate how good of a cinematographer he is and how good of a director he is. If you watch a Transformers movies, you think he's just like some meth head that's been given $1 billion and dynamite. But like the guy knows his stuff. He knows how to shoot the shit out of any single thing that you give him. Story wise, take it away and give it to someone else. But like the dude can shoot.
Man. The Rock.
I get it. Oh man, awesome. That was one of the first movies that Colin and I saw that probably too young. And he can still tell
melting off their face and their
well, he can still tell you how many F words were in the movie The Rock.
I love it. I love it.
Because he was so young that he was like counting them because it was like one of the first times he actually heard it that much in a row, which was hilarious.
Okay, stop stalling. I brought you a little bit of time.
I'm gonna go Super Mario Brothers, the original.
That's a good answer, man.
And it's a game that I can and that's for both because I can go back and play that game just indefinitely, and I do very often. I've purchased that game way too many times, and I will again because we're all stupid and we're all suckers for whatever Nintendo poops into a bucket and tells us it's gold. It's
I have a bucket right over there. I was just cleaning up.
So that's my answer. I mean, it changed the gaming industry. It's basically why we have a gaming industry right now for a big part of that. I mean, if you look at other games that were in arcade cabinets and whatever, like nothing had that scope, that story,
the worlds
of the different worlds and different themes and going. Scrolling along, like everything was Donkey Kong, Pac-Man, whatever it was. It was a standard screen and a single screen. And these guys, it was like scroll. What do you mean? There's more to the right of everything. Right. It was so revolutionary and so amazing. And there's still little secrets and things. I mean, like Darbian, I think is the dude's name on Twitch.
You're speedrunning.
He just beat the speed run, like just set a new one fairly recently, and it's like this game's 30 plus years old. Like it's amazing that people are still playing it. So I'm gonna go that. Followed up, I think they perfected the formula with Super Mario World.
Yep.
Super Nintendo, and they toss back and forth between my favorite game, but I think the best game is the original.
See, I need to create a plaque or something. I need to have something that is so permanent, and I need to etch it into my walls or something, because you could totally convince me. Like, how could I argue with that? That that is the best game of all time. It's something that anyway, I could go on and on and on about Mario Brothers.
I mean, you could also argue the best games. Obviously the technology has been passed, so you could say something like Breath of the Wild is the best game ever created or something, just because of the scope and how amazing that game is. But then there's also technical flaws that you can find in that game that you can also always find a fault with something. And you might say Uncharted 4 is the best game ever just because of how technically amazing that game is, or Horizon. I've heard great things, but I haven't played it myself. So I mean, there's, the pendulum is swinging on Uncharted, and that's really too bad. I think Uncharted is one of the most important franchises in history, and I actually think Uncharted 4 is the best. Uncharted 4, I gave it a 10 on We the Nerdy. I think it goes 4, 2, 1, and then 3. I think 3 is garbage. But for some reason, that order at least.
Yeah, they love to see the mighty fall. And so that's unfortunate. But anyways, we got to talk on.
I'm hoping Tom Holland brings some freshness to that series with his movie stuff. I don't know. Maybe I loved him as Spider-Man. I'm hoping he brings some energy and stuff to the role. We'll see.
He totally could. My last question. What are you looking forward to in 2017? We are hours away from Rabbids as we record this.
Oh yeah.
What else? What else is tickling you for the rest of the year, man?
I can't believe how quick Mario plus Rabbids snuck up on me. I got the notification on Wednesday that was shipping out, and I was charged for it and whatever from Amazon. It was like what? And it was weird because I got the 2-day shipping with Amazon Prime, but it wasn't here Friday. So where's my game? I don't know. I'm hoping I get it Monday. I'm hoping I get it at least a day early.
Well, you've been burned before with Amazon shipping.
Oh, have I ever? Because it says right now it's saying the latest delivery date is Wednesday, which is a day after. And I'm like, why would it take a week to get here from Ontario? I could walk to Ontario in that time. It's just, come on. Just strap the game to a turtle and hope it shows up at my doorstep. I don't know. It's I've been burned by Amazon. I don't really trust it, but I'm very much looking forward to that game. Odyssey, obviously, is something I'm really looking forward to. The new Assassin's Creed. Ooh. I'm a sucker for the Assassin's Creed series. We've all been burned by Assassin's Creed before.
It's getting hyped though.
I've played all of them. And enjoyed all of them, even when they're super broken, like Unity. I mean that was definitely the weakest point in the series for me. Yeah. Even Assassin's Creed 3, which people hated on, I like that one. Unity, Assassin's Creed
defines my backlog, man. I played the first one, and I played it trying to 100% that thing. I saw all that stuff, and I went after. I'm like, now looking back. That was the wrong game to do that for. That was definitely the one that I should have maybe skipped, just got an idea of what was happening. But back then, I was definitely in the mode of I have to fully play this game, and now I'm so far beyond that. I'll play an hour or two, but moving on. Last Guardian, I don't know if I'm gonna play much more than the hour that I put into it. I just rented it from the library.
Yeah, Assassin's Creed and Wolfenstein, weird little games like that. I'm looking forward to. Yeah.
That is just 3 or 4 great games that I'm totally looking forward to. I definitely need to make a list or something. I need to get organized on this because I'm having a bit of a panic attack because I think the lull, if there was ever a lull, is totally over. Yeah. And the tornado, it's going to be tornado season followed by hurricane season followed by earthquake. It's just disaster until Christmas. But it's all good things. Mark, this has been amazing. Tell everybody, if they didn't already know, where they can find you on Twitter, your podcast, where that's at, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, you can find the Warp Whistle podcast, as my dog's just going crazy, so I apologize for that. You can find us on the Dayspace Network, so dayspace.com/Warp Whistle if you want to find our direct feed, or just dayspace.com and find all the awesome shows, including this one right here.
Plug yourself.
And Yeah. Okay. No. Well, it's
still Canadian. I know.
So yeah, you can find us there. You can find us on iTunes and Stitcher. We're not on SoundCloud. Well, we are. I guess the most recent 3 episodes, but I canceled our SoundCloud thing because it's paying way too much. That's where we used to host before we moved over. So anyway. But I podcast services on Twitter and Instagram. We're _Warp Whistle. I also made a couple of videos this week. I had my last week of summer vacation. So we have a couple of new videos on our YouTube channel. There's a Nidhogg 2 review, so it's not all just Nintendo.
Can't wait to see
Great
that.
game.
Really good. Love it.
And it's a review / let's play. Mm-hmm. So it's like
smart.
15, 16 minutes long, but it's like I go through my thoughts on it, compare it to Nidhogg 1. I show some Nidhogg 1 if you missed that game.
Dude, that's a really smart idea.
Weird. Yep.
I love that.
And thanks. And then I did 2 Splatoon videos. So they're like Splatoon 2 101. Mm-hmm. So that's basically for anyone that missed Splatoon, is jumping in on the Switch. And they just like, because I've seen a lot of people, you play and they have like 300 points or something at the end of the match. They're just like, they're going around, they're painting walls and they're like painting what you already painted. And it's just like, all right, dude, I appreciate that you're trying, but here's how this game works. Mm-hmm. So that's what I did with this game. It's not pro level at all. It's like, here's what gear abilities do. Here's what these little dots next to your gear does.
I love that.
Here's, how to test weapons to see what you like. And then, so there's one just based on gear. And then the other one, the one that I really wanted to do was like a Turf War 101. Yep. So painting the walls doesn't help. Helpful. Here's a preview. Not helpful unless you're trying to get somewhere up on a higher level or something. But that doesn't go towards your score. So I don't think a lot of people that might be jumping into the game realize that. Because that was a big thing with Splatoon 1. Like, they explained all that. And I found with Splatoon 2, they just kind of throw you in.
Totally. Send me the links to all that stuff, please. I want to, I think that hopefully they'll be up by the time this goes up. I want to make sure that we share that because I need that as well. I actually...
Yeah, they're up right now. They're ready to go.
Yeah, please send me the links. That is awesome. Is there anything else before I rudely cut you off?
No, that's it. That's about it. I mean, we're all part of the same kind of network. So I'm in the Nintendo group. We also have our own Facebook group, the Warp Whistle Gaming group, and Super Indie Podcast LFG. That's a mouthful, but it's a great group to find people to play with. So we're all part of the same sphere, I guess. So you can find me everywhere.
That is awesome, dude. Well, thank you so much. I've got, unfortunately, we're going to do some podcasting with Bobby and Joseph Moran, right away here.
Not for Joseph.
I know.
I have to make that little dig at Bobby. And
half this episode is about him anyway, so he'll understand. Yeah. So thank you so much, man. This was awesome.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. It was a pleasure. I love the show and just keep doing what you're doing because it's great.
That is all. Thank you so much to Mark. Finally, we did it. The Warp Whistle podcast and we, the GamerCast, combined into one supercast of warping and whistling and weeing and gaming and casting. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I feel a little embarrassed at the moment. I was screaming my haze and I may have flubbed the intro twice. So I had to scream hey a couple times earlier. And Lincoln was sleeping. I have done something very, very awful. I'm ashamed. I really am. I feel like it seems like I'm kind of putting this on. I feel like an absolute ass right now. But that's for me to deal with. Thought I would just communicate that to you. I feel real stupid for doing that. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for listening and subscribing. Remember, we're on youtube.com/WeTheNerdy. Thanks to all of our support at patreon.com/MakeUsBetter. You guys can support us for just $1. Or you can be executive producer, whatever you like. We're very close, though, to bringing some of those recurring guests back. We can have Mark back as soon as we reach that next milestone. I think we're about $10 away. We're very close, guys. But that's all I'm going to say about that. Follow me on Twitter at Sean Capri. Sean like Connery, Capri like the pants. The show is at We The GamerCast. I also do the Xbox Drive with Mr. Dave Moore. He's at Dayspace. Follow that show at the Xbox Drive. It's because I drive while I talk about Xbox. I do the Nintendo show, If We Ran Nintendo, with the Nintendo guru himself, Bobby Pauls. But we talked about him enough. That's live on youtube.com/Nintendo Guru. Thanks to you guys. Again, Patreon. Amazing. Making all these shows amazing. What else do I need to tell you guys about? Check out WeTheNerdy.com. I'm going to have a review, I promise. StarCraft Remastered, that's where a lot of my time is going. I wish I could spend more time playing Splatoon with everybody, but I got finished. It's actually kind of like two campaigns with Brood Wars in there as well. So I'm dedicating a bunch of time there. I might be streaming over at youtube.com/WeTheNerdy as well. I might do a little bit more of that if I can. Claw my way out of the doghouse, I think, a little bit. Thank you to our artists, Gary Gray and Adam Leonard, our video designer, Antonio Guillen, and our producer, Dayspace.com. Next week, episode 103 with Ryan Black from Nintendo Nostalgia. So be there. Be at youtube.com/WeTheNerdy. We just recorded this morning. It's going to be there, and I hope you're there too. Otherwise, this is episode 102 of We the GamerCast. It's now in your ears and your eyeballs. Thank you again for listening. I'll see you guys next week. Now it's time for Jason. Jason. I can't scream Jason. Good Lord, I just about did it again. Oh my God, that would have been so embarrassing.
Jason! 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 Sean! 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 Sean, where are you? Jason! 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 Sean! 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 Jason! 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 Jason!